This week you can say I drew a line in the sand, pun intended, finally choosing my most favorite exterior color as of yet. Specifically this one behind me, adorned in desert sand, a vehicle that I've seen on the open road many times, every time turning my head and catching my attention, and finally I get behind the wheel. But it's much more than just skin teeth. This vehicle coupled nicely with that AT4 badging on the side, meaning it takes this Jake from State Farm and gives me more an adventurous side. Hey, welcome to this Dish Road Warrior. I'm your host, Grant Roberson. Now behind me is the 2022 GMC Terrain AT4 edition. Again, giving you the grip at the four corners and also a wow factor on the outside. And going well with that desert stand exterior color is the contrast. The four corners darken, the lower facade darken, and of course everything else. Really giving you a kind of, well, take me off the beaten path. Don't just go 0 to 45. Let's get this thing a little dirty. So adventure comes in all shapes and sizes, and the Terrain really is where it starts over at GMC. Certainly a little bit bigger. It's going to be the Acadia. That's going to deliver 3 rows of comfort, but just a little bit less here, really focusing on first and second row comfort and cargo to boot. But where this vehicle really starts this week is on this exterior facade, really with that desert sand, the contrasty look, the dark and glossed up black accents at the four corners, and really the design. Tight body lines, just a hint of chisel right through here, tapering up through the roof line. But really what helps with this silhouette is the fluid architecture, really implying airflow right through here. Most of the times you get here to this rear pillar, it's going to be beefy and adorning all the way up. This implied glass really sweeping across and gives you that fluid look from front to back. As you sweep down the vehicle, barely a hint of curve right through here. And again, not a lot of chiseling up, not a lot of rigid lines, tight body lines, and look over the haunches, just squared off. This lower facade really helping in those off the beaten path maneuvers, because anything that's thrown up, protecting the paint and keeping the harshness away from, well, scraping and dinging this vehicle. When it comes to small SUVs, the Terrain fits squarely into this segment, easily measuring up to the competition. Overall length around about 182 inches, wheelbase fairly decent at about 107. As for width, pretty average at about 6 feet wide and 65 inches tall. But where this vehicle, you can say, rises to the occasion is in ground clearance, because the AT4 takes it a little bit higher notch. What you're going to see on the standard model is around about 6.9 inches, but add the AT4 edition, that's going to give you extra inch, falling just shy of 8 inches of overall ground clearance. That means this vehicle can truly shine off-road and even in the urban jungle, really allowing this vehicle to go curb crawling when it needs to, get out of tight spots, and even better, if you get lost, you can easily do a U-turn with this overall scale. Now when it comes to track, you're having about equal numbers from front to back, with only about a 0.2 inch wider difference here at the rear end. As for the tires, you're seeing 225/65s wrapping a 17-inch wheel. Not a large offering, but with these nice aggressive big tires, again, helping you get off the beaten path. You will notice the glossy black accent. I would argue maybe a more matte finish would match this kind of ghostly exterior color, but again, the darken really sets things off. Now, there's nothing wrong with glossy accents like I mentioned at the four corners. You're going to see it here on the mirrors as well as around the windows and up on these roof rails. But when you swing around to the grille warfare, this might really set the tone of this vehicle with more of a matte finish around this grille. Chrome, of course, blinging out around the GMC, but otherwise a nice matte subdued look. That's why I'd prefer that to match at the four corners as well as these accents, because that would give kind of more of that desert aggressive look. But all that said, the grille warfare really sets the tone. Now, as for airflow, really gobbling up through the middle, this implied venting on the side is just that, just a facade. This being, again, glossed up, matching all the accents. As for the headlight assembly, this is something we're seeing across some other models, is the vertical stacked headlights, a 3-beam approach. First off, dual headlights at the top. When you engage the brights like we do here, going to have all 3 stacked on top of each other, really casting a huge amount of light down the road. As for the overall look, not just headlight assemblies anymore, really a piece of art. Wrapping around the grille, coming down, and really setting off the overall tone, and coming down the side just a hair. GMC even emblazoned under the glass of the headlights, and AT4, of course, adorned right here in the grille. With the evolution of the car comes the evolution of the key fob, and one thing I like is just the ability that we've gotten away from keyed options and gone to more keyless, even more so with smart key systems. One thing I've noticed with GMC is they really found a design and have stuck with it. This type of design, even all the way back on my 2019 GMC Yukon. So if it works, just stick with it. Now what this has, of course, is lock, unlock, remote start, and double tap for the rear hatch. But GMC, well, has gone even further, making life so much simpler when it comes to ingress. I've talked about this on 100 times with different size vehicles, how pretty much the access at the front, a standard option. But when you get to the back row, well, it's just not created equal across the board. The Terrain really setting the precedent of how it should be done, specifically access points at every door, and of course there at the rear hatch. That means on a rainy day when you got your handful of groceries, you can come right up here, press this button, get in with ease, throw the stuff in, and then quickly get to the front. If it's like some of the other models we've tested, well, you're stuck with just the front door or going old school with the remote, because after all, smart key systems pretty much means it's going to be in your pocket and you're going to forget about it. So GMC done really well by giving these access points at every entry. From the profile, this vehicle really has that aggressive look. The four corners darken, this exterior color, the grille warfare, but GMC could have fell short if, well, they didn't do what they did to this hood. A plain Jane just would have kind of subdued the overall atmosphere of this vehicle. Thankfully, they added some ridges, some raised area, really giving this a nice aggressive front end, not just here, but from front to back. Adding to that aggressiveness on a scaled down approach is what lies beneath the hood, specifically a 1.5 liter turbocharged inline 4-cylinder engine. It delivers around about 170 horses and 203 foot-pounds of torque. The engine is coupled to a nice 9-speed automatic transmission and, to be expected, all-wheel drive. With this vehicle being so adventurous, well, it's going to be all about the people and their cargo. We always talk about what can it deliver, not just with the people, but what can they bring with them. Now, where it starts is the design back here. You're going to see some glossed up accents, again, really focusing on the GMC and the AT4. Everything else having more of that brushed look, specifically right through here. Nice, huge bank of glass. And again, not just rear taillights, but you could say art, really wrapping around and dressing things up. Otherwise, body color all the way around where you see it, that lower cladding down here, and again, a little bit more brushed accents in the lower portion. Lastly is what lies beneath what you're seeing and, well, how you get there. GMC really delivering the ease of access and, of course, to be expected back here. As I mentioned, the double tap on the key fob even also is, of course, hands-free. Come over here, wave your leg. Takes a second to kind of find the sweet spot. Once you do, it rises to the occasion. But if you do need to go hands-on, one thing to note, the button is in the lower portion, this niche right here. Just simply reach right there, press the button on this model being the powered version. Now, what I like is what you see here. Small SUVs doesn't mean this is going to be a head-banging affair. I've actually seen bigger SUVs that just don't deliver. A lot of times down in here, and I'm just confused on big SUVs, how they cannot get this up out of the way. Thankfully on the Terrain, even though it is, well, scaled down, this is really scaled up. My 6'2", easily getting underneath here. And of course it gets cathedral as you get a little bit further in. Now what you're seeing back here, around about 29 cubic feet. And this is where SUVs really shine because, well, sedans just don't deliver what you're seeing. Typically it's going to be about half of this or even a third, about 12 cubic feet, 13, and that's just not going to deliver people and their cargo. If you go to fold everything down, it's going to more than double to around about 62 cubic feet, and that's going to be tons of space. Even more so, of course, with the split bench like you see, that's going to allow different combinations of people and cargo. So much more going on than at first glance, specifically what lies beneath here. Once you tumble this back, what you're going to notice is another cargo area, kind of a lower portion that allows you to kind of put some items back here, just stow them away, maybe permanently keep in the car or just on those trips when you need more space. What you're also going to find is almost like in the basement level, dive in a little bit deeper, and below this kind of protection area, you're going to find a spare tire, not reachable from underneath, but instead encased inside the vehicle. That's just going to help kind of just with the simplicity of grabbing that tire when you need it. What you also see is just simplicity when you're transforming the cargo. Small vehicles, heck, you can just reach up here and push them down. Well, GMC again stepping things up. What you're going to find are releases here on the side. Just simply pull right there, tumbles the seats forward. Again, on this side, one thing you'll notice is the headrests are in place. Typically, I take those out on small SUVs because, again, is there just not enough room? When they fold down, they're going to catch the front. Not the case here on the Terrain. Again, plenty of acreage, and what you're going to see is just one nice, flat, almost seamless floor from back to front, just really gobbling up anything you want to throw inside. One point of clarification, there's a little bit more cargo than I mentioned with all the seating laid flat. Instead of 62 cubic feet, actually around about 63, so another cubic feet there, throw more gear in. Now what I like is when you swing into the second row, no difference between front and back. Around about 40 inches of legroom in the front, 39 inches in the back, about equal opportunist anywhere you sit. Where you also find some decent comfort is in the non-standard bench styling. Certainly at first glance, it looks pretty much standard, but you're going to see sculpting on the outer sides, really giving this kind of a four cockpit-like design. Not a bad seat in the house here in the middle, but again, with the overall legrooms and with the height of the vehicle, that means flat surface where the feet go, so no argument of feet placement. As for overall comfort, when you have maybe 4 people in here, that means you do have a nice center armrest. And one thing the Terrain does that some of the competition doesn't do is lock this into place. A lot of these actually tumbling more forward, giving some angle. That means it's not going to hold drinks well. This truly locking into place and give it a nice level platform, really housing the drinks with ease. What you also notice is connectivity in the form of 2 USB connections, as well as a household outlet down here below. Even better, this doesn't necessarily have a tri-zone system, but when it comes to airflow, well, you're going to want it where you need it, and where you'll see it here on the Terrain is in the back of the center console, really allowing that air not to have pushed through the middle, but right here the back where the occupants are. Climbing inside is where the rough and rugged, well, yields to comfort and easeability. First off, with this oversized touchscreen system, nice and colorful. General Motors has done this well for years now. It does have a home screen. Just simply press that. That's going to give you tons of various apps. Press again. That does give you the nice split kind of screen. What I do like is when you get to the apps, you can just kind of scroll back and forth, specifically find what you're looking for and dial in. Now you do have nice shortcuts down here below, and again, everything nice and colorful and really dramatic. As you sweep down, this does have dual zones up front. I like symmetry, and well, the Terrain delivers, specifically with the digital touch knobs for the temperature select, as well as a fan speed done in a knob. That just makes for a lot ease of operation, because if you're keeping your eyes on the road, reaching down without looking, you're going to know this is fan speed. As for the mode select, just simple right around that. Going down a little bit lower, well, this is not what you expect. If you're looking for a gear shifter here on the column as well as in between, well, not the case. Instead, you're going to have to get used to this. Push button for the park, pull for reverse and drive, as well as neutral in the middle. This takes a little bit getting used to because, well, if you've just changed from another vehicle that has the operation up here, well, just going to have to stretch a hair and change your overall, well, maneuvers and go with this operation. Lots of operation through the middle. First off, connectivity in the form of a USB, USB-C, and just a nice area to kind of keep your device. Now, this isn't wireless charging, not necessarily big enough, but it is good enough to kind of keep the cord management and the device there while it's charging. Nice dual cup holders right where you need it, as well as the operation for the all-wheel drive system, specifically selecting between 2 and 4-wheel drive, as well as this mountain, which I assume is just the good old off-road adventures. Also find heated functionality here on this side. Not a big deal here in the heat of the summer, but it will be nice when things cool down. You'll find more conveniences on the steering wheel with cruise control over here on the left, as well as changing the screen there on the gauge cluster here on the right side. Also heated steering wheel again when things cool down. As for the gauge cluster, not going full digital readout here, standard analog tach and speedometer, but you do have the digital readout in the middle for that digital speed, as well as the posted speed limit there when it's available. One feature I wasn't expecting was heads-up display, and it does have a little bit of different operation. There's a power on button to the side. That's going to flip up this kind of target looking thing. It's kind of like a little glass. That's going to be actually what the heads-up display projects on, and really allows the driver to see that when needed. When you don't need it, just simply press the off button again and it'll tuck away. On the off-road adventures, there is a way to look at the starry night, and it's not just out the side window, but instead right up above with a huge bank of glass that runs literally from front to back and spans the entire roofline of the vehicle. That does for this edition of Warrior and a test drive behind the wheel of the 2022 GMC Terrain AT4 edition, a vehicle that is scaled appropriately, giving you nice bang for your buck when it comes to room enough for 5 as well as the cargo. But best of all is what you're seeing on the outside, delivering that exterior sporty facade and that kind of go anywhere attitude. Now, as for the numbers, not just the scale, but well, what is this vehicle priced in at? Base price around about $34,000. All in, as tested, just shy of $40,000, with the extras being, well, the exterior color upgrade, as well as some infotainment sound system upgrades, and lastly, the glass roofing allow you to gaze at the stars at night. Now, as always, thank you for watching this edition of Road Warrior. Keep both hands on the wheel and eyes straight ahead.